So, again, good morning. Good morning, congregants and friends. It is great to be with you. So, our service today is entitled Woke, the Spiritual Directive to Stay Awake. And may I begin by saying on this first morning of Daylight Savings Time and the last Sunday before our 2025 elections, I'm so glad you all woke up to be with us today. During this year's campaign season, and certainly the one before it, the word woke has become a buzzword, a word people use often but rarely define. Many on the right have turned it into something toxic, something to fight against. And during this time, I wondered, what is really behind this? I've listened to so many pundits, and I'm sure you have as well. And everyone seems to have a different self-made definition of what being woke means in our politically divided country. So what does woke really mean? The original definition of woke is simply the past tense of wake or having awakened or not asleep. To be woke, though, in more current terms, is to be spiritually, morally, or socially awake, conscious of what is true and just, not asleep to the realities of suffering or the sacredness of life. The phrase woke arose in African American English long before it entered politics. In 1938, blues musician Leadbelly warned black travelers in the South to stay woke, keep your eyes open, after he sang about the Scottsboro boys, the 9 black teenagers falsely accused of assault. Through the civil rights and black power movement, stay woke became a powerful call to stay conscious, stay alert to racial prejudice and injustice. It was both a warning and a blessing, a reminder that awareness could mean survival and solidarity could mean freedom. At its heart, woke was never an insult. It was an act of love and collective vigilance, and a call to collective vigilance, a commitment to stay awake to oppression and to work for justice. In recent years, woke has become twisted into a political weapon. What began as a sacred call to awareness became a label used to divide. Some now use it to mock anyone who cares about equity or inclusion, but that distortion completely misses the original intent. To be woke is not to be self-righteous. It is to see clearly, to act compassionately, and to stay conscious of how our words and systems affect others. When language is hijacked by politics, we lose its spiritual meaning. So today we reclaim woke as it was meant, a directive to stay awake and to stay in truth, in justice. So as I hear the conservative commenters spew anti-woke rhetoric, I can't help but wonder, what is the opposite of woke? Is it to be asleep? If we're not awake, are we being asked to be asleep? Asleep to the suffering of the world, asleep to injustice, to turn our heads, to look away, to ignore a government that edges on authoritarianism. It takes away rights, a government that's taking away rights, that silences truth, and that erodes compassion. Is that what we're being told? Go to sleep, don't look, don't feel, don't see. Well, that is not our call. That is not our call. The universe calls us to stay awake. Universal truths call us to stay awake. They call us in every tradition, every spiritual tradition. In Buddhism, I'm going to share some of these directives. In Buddhism, there lies the term Bodhi, which means awaken. The name Buddha actually does mean awakened in Sanskrit. To awaken in Buddhism is to see the reality that life is connected. And when we awaken to that truth, we naturally awaken to the suffering of others, because their suffering is not separate from ours. In Hinduism, in the Katha Upanishad, it declares to arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. And in Christianity, being awake is not only an inner spiritual alertness, it is an ethical stance. In the New Testament, staying awake is a central spiritual directive. And if Jesus was anything, he was an activist fighting for the well-being of others, and primarily those who were suffering. All the core teachings of Jesus, and like more specifically the Sermon on the Mount, all point to this. But sometimes the teachings of wise people get hijacked. In African and African American traditions, awakening means remembering who we are, our ancestors, our purpose, our power, and aware to the need of truth and social justice. And for us here, as Unitarian Universalists, we echo this timeless call through pretty much all of our principles. To be awake, we are called to be awake to the inherent worth and dignity of every person. To stay awake to the need for justice and equity and compassion in all human relations. To awaken together to nurture one's spiritual growth. And to live awake is to honor the interdependent web of all existence. Across every path and every generation, the message is the same. To stay awake is to live consciously, to see clearly, and to act justly. Pope Leo, who's now been called the woke Pope, shares that the Church will always speak truth and work for justice. Whether or not we are Catholic, those words echo in universal truth. Justice demands wakefulness. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King warned there is nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution. To be woke is to refuse to sleep through the moral revolutions that are of these times, which are, I don't have to tell you, extensive. And if ever there was a time to stay awake or woke, it is now. We are at a pivotal point and moment in our country, one that calls for courage and clarity. And over these past months, we have witnessed a systematic stripping away of human and civil rights. And I don't really want to bullet everyone. It would take maybe another hour. But I could just reiterate, this is not our time to be asleep. To stay awake, to remain conscious, to see clearly the oppression, violence, and dehumanization around us, and to refuse to look away is what is staying awake. It is to remember the sacred truth that our liberation is bound up with one another's. I am because you are. Ubuntu. We all know that word. The teachings from South Africa. Staying awake, though, does not mean living in despair. It means living in awareness, compassion, and action. Woke, first of all, is about unity, not division. True awakening begins connection. It provides connection, not separation. To be awake spiritually is to recognize our shared humanity, that our lives are interwoven, even with those with different ideologies and opinions than us. Being woke is not an accusation, it is an invitation. An invitation to awareness, compassion, and coming together. Yet, even awareness has its pitfalls. The former president, Barack Obama, has cautioned that wokeness can sometimes slip into judgmentalism, when moral awareness becomes a weapon, a way of correcting, calling out, or instead of building understanding. President Obama reminds us that the world is messy and there are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws. People who you are fighting may love their kids and do good things in the world and share certain things with you. Being awake is not about perfection or spirituality or superiority. Let me say this again. Being awake is not about perfection or superiority. You cannot shame or insult someone into agreeing with you. True spiritual wakefulness is rooted in humility, compassion, and curiosity, seeing clearly and staying kind. It's not about catching others asleep. It's about walking together and inviting people into awareness. So last week, I took a fall foliage cruise on the Hudson. And I thought I was just going to ride up the Hudson, up somewhere north past the George Washington Bridge. We did that a little bit, but what it actually did at first when it left the port, it sailed right by the Statue of Liberty. And at that time, I was processing and prepping for this service, and I could not help but think about the inscription, the one we've heard all of our lives. And it was written on this date, actually on November 2nd, in 1883, by Emma Lazarus. And she gave voice to Lady Liberty, but not with just a poem, but with a spiritual call. And she said, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send us these homeless tempest hosts to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." These words awaken our conscience. It awakens the conscience and remind us of the nation of. These words awaken our conscience and remind a nation of its soul. They remind us of what is the actual soul behind us. To be woke is the truest sense to keep those words alive. It is to stand beside the golden door, awake to the suffering of those cast aside, awake to the truth that freedom means nothing if it's not shared. I think of my own parents, who came just a few years before my birth, and many like them who responded to that sacred invitation coming to this country, believing in it. They chose the U.S. because they believed in that light, a light of welcome, of refuge, of hope. They came for them, for themselves, for my brother, and for the generations yet to come in our family. That invitation, embodied in the Statue of Liberty, is more than history. It is a call to action. It calls us as Unitarian Universalists to stand by what we know is true. To be truly American is to be truly awake, to be truly woke, to truly live in that light that lives on in our protests, that light that lives in our votes, and in our acts of kindness, and in our acts of courage. It lives in every effort to stand up for liberty, for justice, and for the sacred promise that once called this country into being. That light is not hers alone. It is all of ours, and it is now ours to carry forward. May it be so. Thank you, everyone. If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.